So today's topic, investment in foreign listed securities. I would like to tell that this topic we had discussed and decided a month ago that we're going to be taking on this topic. But the situations have turned in such a way that today it turns out to be the right moment to talk about this topic because of the recent changes that have come across in the few of the regulatory guidelines, which makes it important for us to once again rethink whether we want to do or whether we should be doing an investment in foreign securities or not, or whether there should be some terms that we need to rethink upon before we do our investments. So let's take a deep dive and understand the waters beyond India. So what we plan to cover up today is understanding on why are we talking this today. Being resident Indians, we have always been investing in Indian companies, Indian stock markets, whatever further investment opportunities we have. But is that the limit that only we can invest? Today's younger generation, or for that matter, every individual with a particular net worth available to them, wants to explore more markets and understand where is else that I can put in my money. Is there any investment avenue that is available to me where I can invest my money and get better returns? Although every day we keep on hearing about the startups, about the companies, एप्पल हमें इतना एक्साइट करता है कि हमारे हाथ में एप्पल होता है, हमारे फोन में एप्पल होता है, everywhere we have Apple, then why not have Apple in our stock, in our demat accounts also? Correct. So that has become a dream of lot many people, that why cannot I invest in foreign companies, foreign startups, or maybe open up my own companies abroad? So that is why this topic has become more important, to know who can invest abroad, how much we can invest, how we can invest. Once if we invest, how we can take it back, what will be the capital gains. These are the few questions which I have been coming across regularly through my clients and others. And obviously, we will further try and answer any more questions which are beyond this and which any of the creative brains out there can think of. We will try and address those questions too. But as far as the international market is concerned, we know there are multiple different markets that are existing today. Each market is giving variety of returns. And hence, if an individual feels that, I want to invest in Netflix, or I want to invest in Twitter, or I want to invest in Apple, boss, we're going to get the answers of all those questions today, that how and when we can invest in all of this. Yes, definitely, people want to invest into international markets so that they can diversify their portfolio. They can have an opportunity of better returns. They can, in a few circumstances, have even tax-free returns. And Indian markets are operational for a particular hours. Global markets are open for a different pattern of hours. So if you think that actually you want to make the slogan work, that when you are sleeping, your money is working, then you have to make sure that your money is working 24/7, which means it has to work in day and also in the night when there is day at some other places. So yes, that's on a lighter note. But yes, we need to understand that yes, there is benefit if we invest in international capital markets or in markets outside India. But we also need to understand where. So stock markets, bond markets, or currencies. These are a couple of few instruments which are available through which you can make your investments. So let's go further and understand on each aspect of the investment. As I mentioned, understand what is a investment, wherein if you want to make an investment into a company and do your own business, or what is the difference if I don't want to do any business, but I want to only invest in a company which is maybe listed or unlisted, in those companies as an investor. Third question, as I said, what if I want to, make a method of funding? Kahan se main paisa dal sakta hun? Can I have an account abroad, or many multiple sources? Then what is a liberalized remittance scheme, which has been in talks recently? If you would have read the newspapers, there is a little bit of talk going on around the LRS today, the liberalized remittance scheme. What will be the tax implications? And the most important thing, what compliances do one needs to make? So let's get into the technical part of it. So first one, everything that is dealing with a foreign currency or it is dealing with abroad, anything outside India, what is the basic regulation that will come into force is the Foreign Exchange Management Act, which we very often call as the FEMA. So FEMA is what needs to looked upon. FEMA has multiple notifications and a couple of rules and regulations that you need to follow. So depending on the relevance of the notification of the thing that you want to do, you have to look at the particular regulation. So since here we are going to be doing an overseas investment, we have to look at the overseas investment regulations. There are two types which they have further divided into the overseas investment regulation. One, they call it as the overseas direct investment, which we call it in the short form as ODI, or it is called as the overseas portfolio investment, which again in short form we call it as OPI. जब हम बहुत सारा यही काम रेगुलर करते हैं तो हम बहुत जल्दी शॉर्टकट्स में आ जाते हैं. We will try to make sure that we today use the overall names so that there is no confusion to the audience of what we are going to be talking about. Now let's understand who can invest. So first of all, let me speak of people like us, you and me, who are residing in India, and hence we are called as resident individuals. So definitely the question would be that, hey, if I am a resident individual and I want to not only purchase an Apple ka phone or an Apple ka smartwatch, but I also want to invest into Apple ka stock, then can I do it? What is the view of the audience, and how many people from the audience, you can give me a thumbs up and let me know how many people from the audiences feel that yes, I want to invest into a Apple ka stock or a Twitter ka stock or a Netflix ka stock. Okay, I'm getting a couple of. In fact, if I would have had an option to give in this similar emoji, मैंने शायद दो हाथ से thumbs up put up किया होता कि yes, they are one of my favorite companies too. And the kind of people that we read, we want to invest in those companies. So if you as a resident individual, if you want to invest into the stock of a listed stock exchange ka company ka stock price, equity stock price mein, equity stock you want to purchase, yes, you are allowed to purchase. That is point number one. Secondly, since as I said that here we are looking at who can invest. So yes, you are only told right now you are allowed. We will go in deeper and understand when are we allowed, how much are we allowed. But for the time being, let's just be happy that, okay, rest, as an individual, I am allowed to invest in the stocks, equity stocks of my favorite companies, which are going to be listed in the foreign stock market. Now, secondly, the question is, okay, what if I have a company and via my company, I want to invest into the stock exchange ke, or rather, un stocks mein I want to invest, but not through individual account, but via my company. Then the RBI law says that yes, the Indian entity, which the RBI defines as a body corporate, which is a company, or a LLP, or a registered partnership firm. Any of these three companies or three entities, and this Indian entity can also invest into the shares of listed stock exchange. Not only that, they can also invest abroad and start up their own businesses. So yes, any of you individuals or an Indian entity, both of us have the opportunity to go abroad, invest in the listed company ke shares. Not only that, but if we feel there is an opportunity, a business opportunity lies for which I should open my own wholly owned subsidiary or open my own company abroad, then we are allowed to do that too. In fact, RBI goes to an extent further and says that if you want to open this company with somebody else as a joint venture, then in that case also RBI has given us a permission to do this. But as I said, everything comes with a asterisk mark, with a condition. So let's go further and understand what are those conditions after which I'm allowed to do those transactions. Now, the first term that I used up was overseas direct investment. Let us understand what is an overseas direct investment, because the law is a little tricky here and it tries and says that I am defining what is an overseas direct investment. Whatever does not fall into it becomes an overseas portfolio investment. So it is important for us to understand what is an overseas direct investment. Also, I further understand that बॉस वेल्थ जो क्रिएट होती है वो एक या तो सैलरी से होती है जॉब करके या तो खुद का बिजनेस करके. So I am a die-hard fan and a lover of businesses, and I feel that yes, businesses should grow and grow multifold. So let's talk today businesses. Let it be my favorite first. So hence we are talking about an overseas direct investment. What is it? Now, if as in I said that any Indian entity, which is a company, an LLP or a registered partnership firm, want to open up a company outside India, then what they can do is they have to make sure that whatever activity they are doing, it is a bona fide activity. What it means is it has to be legally permissible in the host country and in the in the host country of the activity that they are doing. So it has to be a bona fide business activity. Secondly, you are allowed to subscribe to the memorandum of that company, which means that you're allowed to open up a new company or acquire the shares of an existing company. So that's the allowance of a joint venture or acquiring an existing company. Thirdly, how much are you allowed? So whatever is your net worth of your Indian company, say for example, 1 crore is the net worth of your Indian entity, then 400% of that net worth, which is 4 crores, is what you are allowed to invest abroad. Now, within 4 crores, you are allowed to invest in terms of equity, or you are also allowed to give loan. Both is the permission what they have given. Also, they've given us the permission to give corporate guarantees, to allow to avail of a fund or non-fund based commitment. Rather, I would like to say here that RBI is quite open and willing that please go abroad, open up your businesses and do more and more businesses so that you get more equity, more foreign exchanges for India. Now, we're going further and understanding the basic difference between overseas direct investment and overseas portfolio investment. When we say we want to invest in the listed securities, it is covered under the gamut of portfolio investment. So we need to understand what is not a portfolio investment. Simple funda here. If any company which I'm wanting to open up abroad, if I'm going to have a control in that company in any way, either I have a control by way of a board of directors को मैं कंट्रोल कर सकती हूँ, वोटिंग राइट्स है मेरे पास, शेयर होल्डर अग्रीमेंट से मैं कंट्रोल कर सकती हूँ, मैंने कोई नया ही तरीका अग्रीमेंट से निकाला है जिससे आई कैन टेक कंट्रोल ऑफ दैट कंपनी, then RBI is saying that will be covered under overseas direct investment, and I am having a watch over you. But if it is you're not having control, that is one. Secondly, one more definition of control, RBI is saying अगर कोई कंपनी में 10% से ज्यादा आपका स्टेक है, then RBI is having a view that you are having control over that company just because you are having a stake of more than 10%. And it is having a perception that if you are having a charge or a control less than 10%, then you are not having a control in that company, and hence they will consider it as OPI, overseas portfolio investment. So if you are having an investment in any of the unlisted entities, RBI says unlisted entity में अगर आपने invest किया है और आपका control हो या control ना हो, आपने 2% डाला या 10% डाला, I will consider it as an overseas direct investment because I want to know what you are doing in that company. You will have to do me the reporting. You will have to annually come and give me your reporting requirements, and hence it will be considered as overseas direct investment. But if you are investing in any of the listed entities, RBI says, okay, let us go ahead and see whether you are investing less than 2% or more than 2%. If you are investing less than 2%, which means, and you don't have any control, which is what we are eyeing right now, investing in Apple or Netflix or any of such companies, it will be considered as overseas portfolio investment. In which case, RBI is giving very less compliances to people like us as investors because they understand that they've gone abroad only to make money out of their investment and not to do businesses abroad. And that is why this clear-cut bifurcation of overseas direct investment, which I mentioned is for business purposes, and overseas portfolio investment becomes very important and critical to know where your investment will lie when you are going to be thinking of doing those investments. This is again, now we are moving to a resident individual, that what is the criteria for considering whether it will be an ODI or an OPI for a resident individual. Earlier, whatever we discussed was for an Indian entity. Now, as a resident individual, if you are investing in any of the unlisted companies, as I mentioned, irrespective of your holding in that company, only because that company is unlisted, it is less regulated abroad also. RBI says, I will consider it as an ODI and you will have to give me all the reporting requirements of ODI. But if you're going to be investing less than 10% and you don't have control, which is usually going to be the case when I'm going to be investing in a listed security, those cases, it will be considered as OPI, which is overseas portfolio investment. And if you have control or you're going to be investing somehow more than 10% in those listed securities also, listed companies' stock prices also, then it will be considered as overseas direct investment. Then they would want to know that boss kitna dala, kya performance company ka, and what lots more details into those. Now that we know that, okay, I have the opportunity to invest, I know that I can invest and I have to invest less than 10% if I want to get covered under the overseas portfolio section of RBI, then I have to invest less than 10%. I should not have control. Once that we have known all of this, let me understand what are more options that are available to me, because as always I say, dil mange more. So what beyond the foreign listed shares, what beyond that I can invest? So yes, from here, we can invest into international mutual funds, because a lot of people feel here in India also that we don't directly invest in the shares. We feel safer to invest in the mutual funds. Similarly, you can also invest in the international mutual funds. Thirdly, there are a lot of debt instruments which are listed abroad. So we can also invest in the listed debt instruments. Further, somebody can tell me, hey, my father has invested in Apple ka stocks. I'm repeatedly using the word Apple stock as a symbolic to foreign security investment. So if it comes up that, yes, my father has invested in the stock, in a listed stock of a foreign company, and now I am going to be receiving it as a gift. So can I say no? Obviously, yaar, gift ko kyun na bolenge? So yes, we can take investment. Even RBI does not stop us. कि gift में जो मिल रहा है ले लो, we don't say no. Similarly, same way, if you are getting the same via inheritance, in that case also you are allowed to receive those securities, foreign securities, in way of inheritance or gift. There are no restrictions to it. Thirdly, an important point here also to understand is that, can I invest in IFSC or Gift City in Gujarat? Yes, the entire idea and objective of having the Gift City was to promote it like a foreign zone. And similarly, RBI has given an option that if you want to invest in any of the securities of IFSC or Gift City, you are allowed to do it. And the last point here, important again, from the point of view of business owners, is that if any individual or a company, and an individual is going to be a consultant and he goes abroad and helps somebody, and for which he's in exchange going to be receiving a sweat equity share, or you are an employee of a foreign company and you're going to be getting ESOP, then in all those cases, you are allowed to get the shares of the foreign companies via this route. Obviously, there will be some compliances that needs to be done, which we will understand on the way forward. But yes, we are allowed to have those, because in such scenarios, usually if it is a sweat equity, we are not selling out any foreign currencies. But yes, we are allowed to do it. A lot of countries abroad have the rule that if you want to become a director in those companies, you need to hold some minimum qualification shares. In such scenario, we are allowed to purchase such shares as well. Now that we know what all we are allowed to invest and upon, I'm going further to understand how to invest. What are the ways in which I can invest? So first and the most common way to do is I will purchase a foreign currency. from my AD banker. AD banker is an authorized dealer bank. वो bank में जाएंगे, which is our normal banks only. Whoever has the forex department, we will go to them, request them for purchase of the foreign currencies, and that is the money which I will use to remit it abroad and purchase the shares of those foreign companies. Second option is obviously use capitalization of exports. Now, here we are considering both the options. Please note that point. Here, whatever options that we are talking about is considering both. If I am an Indian company or an Indian individual and I want to open up a company abroad for businesses, ODI, overseas direct investment, we are considering the options for that as well when we are talking about what the options are available. So in that case, for example, I have exported some goods to a foreign country, and instead of receiving the foreign currency as the consideration, sale consideration for those exports, मुझे लग रहा है कि उसको capitalize करो, मुझे तेरी company के shares दे दे, then capitalization of export can also be done to receive the shares of that foreign securities, foreign companies. Third option is swap of shares. We have seen this happening in a lot of startups also today, that they do a swap of shares. I am liking your company and I see that there is a growth and opportunity in your foreign company, and vice versa, you are seeing the same in Indian company. Then there is a swap of shares happening wherein both of them exchange their shares with each other to get the holding. So this is also permitted as per RBI. And the fourth one is EEFC account, which is Exchange Earners Foreign Currency account. If you feel that, yes, you are having a lot of foreign earnings and regular foreign earnings, then a few people, based on the criteria, are allowed to open an EEFC account, in which case your money will be lying in that foreign currency, which is what you can use to make your investments abroad. Now, the LRS, the Liberalized Remittance Scheme. Friends, we have seen that a lot of children today are going abroad for their further studies, for their further experiences. And in which case, we are also seeing parents and individuals preparing well in advance for their future. So which is where, for example, foreign securities investment becomes very, very useful. Like, for example, if you are an individual who feels that by next 3-4 saal mein mera beta is planning to go to Canada, America, or any such countries for further studies, and as all of us are aware, there is different country risk, currency risk that is going ahead with those currencies or those countries. Say, for example, you are saving 5 lakh rupees here every year for your child's studies, and that 5 lakh rupees is equivalent to, say, example, $1,000 or $100,000 abroad for their studies. $100,000 to same raha. The inflation maybe for the next 3 years may be less, but because of the currency prices changing, our 5 lakh has lost the value. In which case, even if you are earning the same, saving the same, you may not become compatible enough or capable enough to make sure that your child ka abroad ka study ka financial needs, you are able to comply with this savings. This has been one of the major areas wherein people have been using the liberalized remittance scheme for making the investments into the foreign currencies over the years, so that by the time, say, after 3 years, you want your son to go abroad and study, you have already invested in that currency, so that whatever increase or decrease, you are having it in that currency itself, so that ye currency ka risk us pe nahi aa raha hai, and you are able to mitigate and cover upon those aspects. Which is where the Indian government has given us an option of liberalized remittance scheme, which it means is that every resident individual, now this LRS is available only to individuals, and hence I gave an example of an individual or a parent or a person who wants to invest abroad. He has the ability to invest $250,000 per financial year every year, including the money for his minors. There is no separate limit available for the minors into their you can use this LRS for investment abroad. Now, this LRS limit is a wholesome limit. Boss, Modi ji ki government बहुत smart hai, and for that matter, all the governments that have been till now are very smart. What they have said is that we give you this 2,50,000 USD to use, but इसके अंदर खत्म सब कुछ आपको जो करना है, आपको घूमने जाना है, यूज इट विद इन द 2,50,000 USD. आपको एजुकेशन के लिए जाना है, use it within the 250. So a host of list of transactions have been given. जो भी आपको करना है as a resident individual, everything you can do it, but within a limit of 2,50,000 USD per financial year per person. When it means per financial year is yes, आप मार्च 23 में $2.5 लाख भेजो और अप्रैल 23 में वापस $2.5 लाख भेजना चाहते हो, आप भेज सकते हो, because the financial years have changed. Now, this is the limit because they want to make sure that Indian government or the Indian economy does not go into the foreign currency deficiency, and that is why this limit of 250. But when you are put up the EFC or RFC account, you can use the funds that is lying in the exchange earners foreign currency account or the resident foreign currency account for this remittance purposes. Now, as I told you that we can use the foreign currency, we can use the LRS, that is the Liberalized Remittance Scheme. We can do our planning for investments abroad for any of your future plans. As I gave you one example, which is say education, which is at times the most common needs of the current young parents today. But also it can be your retirement needs. It can be your diversification needs, that you want to diversify your portfolio and hence invest into different currencies. Or it can also be that you want to plan your retirement, whichever may be the need. But here comes a catch. Whatever money, now this is from both the perspectives, ODI or OPI, which is if you're doing a business also, India bolta hai, jo mujhe due hai, wo wahan mat rakho, please lekar aao. What I mean is that whatever, if it is a royalty, if it is an interest earning, or if it is any earning that you have done, please bring that money into India. Do not keep it unutilized or uninvested. But if you are reinvesting it, not a problem at all. RBI says, please invest karo, account mein paisa mat rakhe rakho. If you keep the money ideal in your bank account, then within 180 days, you have to bring it back compulsory. You are not allowed to keep the money ideal in the bank account. Even if you invest in a debt security, it is allowed. But investment is a must. So foreign exchange, whatever you have realized, whatever has remained unspent, your example, you've gone for a travel and 2,000 dirham leke gaye the, 200 dirham bach gaya. आपको लग रहा है यार जाने वाला हूं, next year रख लेता हूं. Ideally, it is not allowed. Whatever is your unspent amount, you have to bring it back to India, give it to the authorized dealer, that is your bank, convert it into Indian rupees. You're not allowed to officially hold the foreign currency. और unused है, not reinvested है, ये सारा आपको repatriate लाना पड़ेगा and surrender करना पड़ेगा. As I said, repatriation of whatever is due to India, which can be, which has to be done within 180 days, which can be a date of such receipt. यानी अगर sale consideration है, तो वो पैसा आपको 180 days में लेकर आना है. अगर आपने कोई property purchase किया या कोई share purchase किया था, उसको बेच दिया, you have not reinvested it, then in that case also you have to bring it back within 180 days. Now, here is a catch, which is very important to understand. As we said, reinvestment, I said that yes, you are allowed. Let me give you an example, and I want you guys to share your views on that. Okay, you have an option to share your views in the chat box, and please do participate. So the first question is, say for example, 2,50,000 USD was what was allowed for us to invest. हमने 2 lakh USD invest कर दिया abroad. And again, as I said, Apple, my favorite stock. Apple में हमने invest कर दिया. Within 2 months, the stock prices rised. We made a very good gain. 2 lakh का से 3 lakhs happened. So we sold the stock. We thought not of purchasing it again. So we brought it back. So now what has happened is we have brought back $3 lakh back into India. Now, after some time, we feel an opportunity that yeah, abhi वापस stock prices down हुए हैं, and I think I should reinvest. Now, I want you guys to put it in the chat box and answer this question. क्योंकि मैं 2 लाख ऑलरेडी, एंड आई एम टॉकिंग इन विद इन द सेम फाइनेंशियल ईयर, मैं 2 लाख ऑलरेडी भेज चुकी थी, तो अब अगर मुझे वापस परचेज करना है, विल आई बी अलाउड टू स्पेंड ओनली $50,000? और क्योंकि मैंने 2.5 लाख 2 लाख भेजा था, पर मैं 3 लाख वापस भी लेके आई ना, तो आई ब्रॉट इट बैक, तो विल आई बी अलाउड टू अगेन सेंड 2 लाख? अगर मुझे भी वापस 2 लाख भेजना है, तो विल आई बी अलाउड टू सेंड 2 लाख, or they will say that no, you are only allowed to send 50? Whatever is your view, please message it in the chat box. 200 या 50? We'll keep it easier for people. 200 या 50? Okay, I'm getting one view as 50. I'm getting another view as 200, 350, 200, 50, 50. Yes. I can see one person, Sumit, who is saying 350. Sumit, had it been 350, all of us would have been very happy कि India बहुत खुश है, profit लेके आए तो profit भी डाल दो. But no, the limit is very clear that आप profit करके आओ और वो profit. And this is now important explanation to all those people who have returned 200 also. RBI is very clear on the front. Yes, you are allowed to reinvest, but that reinvestment is if you have already invested abroad. लेकर नहीं आए, वो मैंने वहां पे बेचा 200 का, I sold it for 300. If that 300 I invested it immediately there, then I can keep that 300 and additional 50 is what I can send from here. In that case, Sumit, 350 हो जाएगा. But if even for one instance, you have brought that 300 into India, and now if you plan to send it back, then you are only allowed 50. Because the limit is not like a ledger balance कि आप वापस लेके आए हो तो मेरा वापस लेजर 0 हो गया, so I should be again allowed to send 250. It is not like that. It is a one time function available to you. 250 में से minus होता जाएगा, 200 already gone. What you have brought back is not considered in the LRS limit. 200 already gone, only 50 remains, and hence you will be allowed to invest only 50 in that particular financial year. This is a very important point, because if any of you are planning, it is important to consider this into your planning structure so that you can choose whether you should bring that 300 into India or how sooner you plan to invest. And maybe, temporarily, if you don't intend to invest in the stock market, you can plan to invest in a liquid debt so that it becomes available to you. Hence, I thought it was an important point to clarify on this front. Let's move forward. Okay. As we said, yes, what are the scope or the benefits of investing in the stock market? There is an increased exchange. Yeah, this is something very important, that when we invest in the stock markets abroad, obviously we are getting the benefit of a diversified portfolio. We're getting the benefit of investing in a different market. Ours is an emerging market. At times we call that those are the matured markets or growth markets, and in those markets के stocks का अपने को benefit मिलता है, their rapid growth. See, my team was good enough that why madam use only Apple all the time? Why not talk about Tesla or Google or Amazon or Facebook, whose net worth continues to grow at a rapid pace? Yes, you can invest in all those stocks. So those are beneficial. That is there. So at the same time, there is one more benefit, is currency benefit. As we all know, the currency prices are keep on fluctuating so much that if you are earning a dollar increase or a 10% increase in the dollar price, you also make money if there is a currency fluctuation, and you make money because of that as well in the foreign exchange currency gain. Now, we've talked everything positive and why it was important and a good alternate for investment. But with the recent few changes, I want to also bring a new methodology which needs to be considered if we are now planning to invest. Before that, let me only speak and touch base upon the taxation front of it. That yes, Indian government है, हम इंडिया में रहते हैं, हम कहीं पे भी इन्वेस्ट करेंगे, हमको टैक्स तो भरना ही पड़ेगा. तो टैक्स we need to know how much and what we need to pay on the tax front. So yes, if a foreign if you're getting a dividend, then you'll have to pay a 25% tax on the dividend income that is received. There'll be no capital gain for a non-resident. But if you're a resident, then yes, there will be a capital gain. In the same way, long-term capital gain or a short-term capital gain, depending on your holding period. And definitely you will be getting a benefit of the double tax अवॉइडेंस अग्रीमेंट विच इज कॉल्ड एज DTA. आपको 2 कंट्री में टैक्स नहीं भरवाएंगे. एक कंट्री में जो आपने टैक्स भरा है उस अमाउंट का आपको दूसरी कंट्री में क्रेडिट मिलेगा. मतलब उतना टैक्स आपको दूसरी कंट्री में आप कम भरोगे. बट यस, यू हैव टू डू द कंप्लायंसेस ऑफ द टैक्स फ्रंट ऑन बोथ द प्लेसेस. दैट नीड्स टू बी लुक्ड इनटू अकाउंट. Now, this is a area where I would like to take 5 minutes and discuss on this front, because this is a recent change because of which this has come into picture. As a lot of you, whoever may be reading the newspapers and may be aware of the current tax updations, are aware that there is a term called as tax collection at source, which is similar to TDS. TDS, this is when you are making an LRS. Say for example, हम LRS में 100 rupees abroad भेजना चाहते हैं. Then every time that I spend 100 rupees, of that 20 rupees, which is 20%, will be a tax which will be collected by the Indian government. Which means अगर आप बैंक के थ्रू आप पैसा भेज रहे हो, example $100, तो उसमें से $20 तो पहले ही गवर्नमेंट यानी कि बैंकर काट लेगा. Only $80 is what they will invest or they will send it abroad. Now, when this $20 they will cut, obviously they will deduct this money and park it into your taxation accounts. Yani they will deduct and they will deposit it with, and you can use this 20 as your tax credit. But let us understand what happens to your investment because of this new change that is not less than a week amendment that has come into picture, and because of which I feel there is a change in the scenario which we need to very, very meticulously look at it. So hence for that I have brought in this calculation to make it easier for people to understand. अगर आप $100 भेजते हो, as I said, $20 TCS में कट जाएगा. Only $80 is what will be allowed to be remitted abroad. Now this $80 जब आप invest करोगे, say for example, what was my reason of investing abroad is, say my Indian stock market is giving me return of 15% and foreign stock markets are giving me return of 20%. Then my one of the reason is to earn that extra 5%. As you know, I said dil mange more. तो अगर मुझे 5% ज़्यादा मिल रहा है, then why not try? तो मैं वो 5% एक्स्ट्रा के लिए अब्रॉड में भी इन्वेस्ट करती थी. दिस यूज्ड टू बी माय वन ऑफ द रीजंस. तो अगर फॉर एग्जांपल 20% मुझे वो रिटर्न दे रहा है, देन ऑन दैट 20% रिटर्न इज 16 rupees, which means my total return now is 96. Now let us understand, whatever that 20 rupees which was deducted is actually lying with the Indian government into your taxation के front में. So you will get that money, but only when you are either filing your return. तो वो जब आप ईयर खत्म होगा, रिटर्न फाइल करोगे, तब आप उसको बेनिफिट ले सकते हो. और जब आपको एडवांस टैक्स भरना है, उसके कैलकुलेशन में आप इसका बेनिफिट ले सकते हो. बट व्हाट माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज, बस वो 20 रुपया मेरा ऑब्जेक्टिव आज टैक्स में डालने का नहीं था. आई एक्चुअली वांटेड टू इन्वेस्ट दैट मनी टू मेक रिटर्न्स ऑन दैट. सो आई एम कंसिडरिंग दैट मनी इज नॉट गिविंग मी एनी रिटर्न, बट I have to make that investment. मुझे वो 20 rupees compulsory कटवाना पड़ेगा to make that investment on 80. So I am looking at it that the 16 rupees, 96 minus 80, ये जो 16 rupees का मुझे रिटर्न मिला है, वो एक्चुअली मुझे 100 rupees के इन्वेस्टमेंट पे मिला है, which is equivalent to 16% रिटर्न. नाउ विज़ अगर मैं वो 100 rupees इंडियन स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में डालूं, तो मैं पूरा 100 डाल सकती हूँ, बिकॉज देयर इज नो कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ TCS or TDS or any tax when I'm investing in the Indian stock market or when I'm buying the shares of Indian listed companies. तो मैं वो उसमें 100 rupees पूरा डालूंगी. Even if it gives me 15% return, it will give me 115, which is net 15 rupees. So the analysis that I'm trying to make and I'm trying to draw the attention on is that even if 5% extra, I am not benefiting. 20% भी अगर मेरा फॉरेन कंपनी रिटर्न दे रहा है तो भी आई एम नॉट बेनिफिटिंग vis-a-vis इन्वेस्टमेंट इन द इंडियन स्टॉक मार्केट. I will only make my benefits higher if the returns goes beyond 20%. This is a comparative only as an example basis. What I want to draw the attention is that people now must estimate how much they think they will invest by investing in the foreign stock exchange vis-a-vis what they will invest if they invest in the Indian stock market, and consider that your investment amount in the foreign stock exchange is going to be 20% less to make that return come up. Please, please, ये comparative analysis future में करके ही foreign companies में investment कीजिएगा. My personal view is Indian governments are super smart. They have brought this into picture to हमें डिस्करेज करने के लिए कि हम फॉरेन करेंसी बाहर भेजें और हम फॉरेन स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में इन्वेस्ट करें, एंड दे वांट अस टू फील मोर मोटिवेटेड टू इन्वेस्ट इन इंडियन स्टॉक मार्केट बिकॉज is a big amount. Maybe after that returns in the foreign companies that it becomes exciting. As I said, a few couple of more things to be considered before investing into foreign stock exchange. One of the considerations is the volatility. Currency volatility is what needs to be looked upon. Second is 20% LRS जो आएगा, that needs to be looked upon. TDS gets deducted in abroad as well as it happens in India, based on the country, based on your residency and all. And there is a lot of brokerage other charges that are all, which one needs to be considered. So all the expenses, TCS, brokerage charges, foreign currency conversion के charges जो बैंक लगाती है, ये सारे charges के बाद what is the net amount that you're going to be investing and what returns do we expect after that vis-a-vis the Indian is, I think, or not only Indian, but I would say vis-a-vis any other opportunity that you have should be looked into before we make any other investment decisions. Here I have just tried to explain, since this was the latest amendment, just tried to explain a little more easier way of how do we invest. So how the TCS will work. So now we've talked a lot about investment. Let's say abhi thoda Europe घूम के आते हैं. So we're saying that you go to Europe because this TCS is going to be applicable not only when you invest, but also when you plan to go abroad for your trip. So कोई भी फॉरेन ट्रैवल ट्रिप मारे, सपोज हम यूरोप जाते हैं और हम सितंबर में हमने प्लान किया, and you decided to spend 2 lakhs. Now when you go to spend that 2 lakhs rupees, you go to your banker. From that 2 lakh, first of all, banker will deduct 40,000. Abroad घूमने जाना है, चलो पहले इंडियन गवर्नमेंट को टैक्स करो. So 40,000 is what they will deduct. Now that is money lying with the bank. Bankers will go ahead and deposit it with the tax authorities on your name. So that 40,000 is lying at as the TCS. And now you have 140 for further remittances. Now, say for example, your income is 20 lakhs. And now you have two options. If you are going to your new region, 3 lakh is due to you as your taxes. Then from that 3 lakh, you can deduct this 40,000 as your tax, and only 2.6 is what you need to pay. So as I said, this 40,000 is not something that that's an expense. That is not an expense. It does not go away. But it is not getting invested at this moment, and your cash flow gets affected is what definitely needs to be looked upon. Say, for example, you have made your mindset that you want to invest $100,000, then you cannot go ahead and give a remittance of 100,000. You'll have to give it for maybe higher. You'll have to, back work and give a grandfathering and give a higher amount for the remittances, so that after deduction of TCS, yet you are able to remit your $100,000. Now let comes, we are going more closer to the to the closure of the session. So let's understand कि ओके वी हैव इन्वेस्टेड, वी हैव मेड आवर मनी, इतने जफा के बाद भी हमने इन्वेस्टमेंट कर दिया, तो इज देयर एनीथिंग रिपोर्टिंग दैट वी नीड टू डू? सो हियर देयर आर टू पार्ट्स दैट वी विल हैव टू टॉक अबाउट. एज वी सेड, अगर हम ओडीआई की बात करते हैं देन यस, अगर आप बिजनेस के लिए जा रहे हो तो देयर इज अ रिपोर्टिंग दैट यू नीड टू डू इन द फ्रंट. मतलब अपफ्रंट एक रिपोर्टिंग है. यू हैव टू गो टू आरबी बैंकर्स. Banker will allow you the remittance only after compliance of form FC, which is the ODI के लिए regulation का form है. And post that every year you'll have to submit an annual performance report. Every year RBI wants to know how your business is doing, whether you made profit, you lost, उसके आगे और कोई subsidiaries करी क्या, सब कुछ उनको जानना होता है, because you've gone out for business. So that is all when you're doing an overseas direct investment. But if you have gone ahead and done only a investment in stock exchanges of listed securities, which is your investment is falling under the category of overseas portfolio investment, in that case there is no compliances that you have to do it. You just go ahead, make your investment via the routes. No annual compliances. It is only one time compliance. One time you have to go ahead, fill up the form with the banker and purchase the account. Further, just in case, if you are making OPI, which means you are doing either sweat equity or via the ESOPs, then yes, in that case, there is a special form called form OPI, which your employer has to file. But for investors like us who don't want to do businesses abroad, but just want to invest in listed securities, they have said you don't need to have any compliances. We're making your life simple. But if you're going for business, even you as an individual, if you're going for businesses abroad, which we generally call as LRS ODI, as an individual, you're going and you're doing for businesses abroad, wherein you're going to have control, you have invested in unlisted companies, then for you, yes, compliances are there. Your form FC and all is what you will have to file. And rather, there are a couple of other compliances also. Since we're going to be today talking about listed securities, our major focus is on the OPI front. This is a statistics till 22. I'm not sure how much the statistics will change. I will be very excited and intrigued to see what is the now going to be the new statistics of the foreign outward remittances that have taken place today. As we can see, the major amount that has gone abroad in the year 21-22 under the LRS route was majorly for travel. That was for studies. After that was for maintenance of the relatives. A very small portion have gone towards investments. I believe there is a lesser awareness among the general public that yes, such schemes, such options are available for us to go ahead and diversify our portfolio or take the advantage of the global markets. In the coming years, we also wanted to help people with foreign. If you intend to invest abroad, as I saw a lot of thumbs up in the beginning coming up, here's a list of a couple of service providers. It is a combination of Indian houses, and they have their own website. They have their own guidances which they share with us and help us in investing abroad. Angel One is one such, ICICI Direct. So they are such, as I said, there are a few startup apps which allow you to make investment abroad. There are a few Indian banks like Kotak Securities and Kotak Stock Broker, Kotak Securities, which also helps you make global investments. Then similarly, there are a couple of foreign brokers who have come into India, like the Charles Schwab, who help us make investments abroad. You can pick up any of from this one to open up your accounts with them. They will help you, guide you, make your investments abroad. Make sure you do a comparative analysis of the brokerage charges and other fees that they charge and other services that they provide to select upon which one you should be going ahead with. Fair enough. This is my details, and this is a group which we are running. It's a WhatsApp group wherein we help people and we keep on updating more and more information about tax and FEMA, whatever are the latest updates. You can scan the QR code and join the group. I've also shared my details if you have any Q&A. We will quickly look into the questions, and let me see how much I can answer to all of them. Ma'am, whether currency fluctuation gains is taxable for the capital gains calculation? Sir, whatever is the amount that you have invested abroad, vis-a-vis what the amount you receive in India, that is the difference is what will be considered for capital gains calculation. Does the LRS allow you to send net 250 after deducting the TCS, or after deducting TRS net only 200 only allowed? Sir, this is a very good question. Since this has happened just 2 days or less than a week's time, I don't have the immediate answer to this question. As I said, people are creative. I will have to get back to you with these questions once we check on this front in the detailed part of it. Is there any limit set by RBI on how much an NRI who is living and working abroad can invest in listed securities or mutual funds abroad? Sir, when you are an NRI, the LRS scheme does not apply to you. You are earning abroad. You can earn abroad and invest abroad as much as you want. There is no limit to you. LRS will apply only to resident individuals. The vendor abroad want rupees 2 lakhs. So we will need to gross the amount. So it will become more expensive for Indians. Vendor, I am assuming what you're trying to say is the investment part of it. If your answer is that yes, you want to invest 2 lakhs, then you will have to actually spend outflow. As a cash flow perspective, you'll have to do an outflow of a higher amount than 2 lakhs. Then your interpretation is correct. Yes, it will be like that. Will TCS of 5 or 20% apply if LRS for education fees is made by parent to child's overseas bank account instead of to the college? Sir, under the LRS, now that 5% wala criteria, 7 lakh limit wala criteria, they have changed. Now they have put in a blanket of 20%. And even if you're doing an education ke liye, you are putting it abroad, whatever may be the purpose, it is actually going to be 20%. Can you share the PPT? Yes, Ajay, as Komal had mentioned it earlier, we will definitely be sharing the PPT. Do we have DTA benefits from USA if we invest and book profits in US stock markets? There are benefits there of different countries. USA ke saath bhi benefits are there. We need to look into it on each perspective. Is the repatriation limit country specific DTA or in general? So repatriation is whenever you have invested, whatever amount you have invested, repatriation of that entire amount needs to be done to India once you have realized the amount. Taxation part will depend upon each country, and those will be taken into account, benefits on the DTA of each country. But repatriation you have to do with all the countries irrespective. Ma'am, can we evade the limit by investing through our non-resident relative? Anonymous. Sir, आप anonymous okay, anonymous जैसे question करते हो. See, if a non-resident in investing, yes, a non-resident can invest. Whatever we are saying is about a resident investing. You are trying to structure the transaction. I think there could be structures that is possible. But to the answer to right now, we can only restrict up to so much of answer. Resident Indian as per FEMA and Intern Tax Act difference. Explain. Yes. The resident Indian ka definition as per FEMA is much different from the resident Indian ka definition as per Income Tax Act. We have to look at the resident definition of FEMA when we are looking at LRS or any kind of a FEMA regulations. Isn't the TCS effective from 1st July or it has been already put into effect? Yeah, sir, it is 1st July, but I'm putting it up that if anybody, if you have a couple of days, you want to make use of it, immediately make investments. Yes, done, you can do that. But बहुत soon it will become effective. I would quickly look up if there are any chat questions that we can help up with. We will look into it. You're talking about the investment in US market or any foreign market. So we are talking about investment in any foreign listed securities. RBI does not differentiate between investing in US or any other stock markets. Can a resident individual, Indian individual, invest USD 5 lakh in a foreign entity under ODI route under approval despite the LRS limit being only USD 2.5? Sir, if you want to go to there are two options. One is either you invest 2.5 lakh US dollars in 2 financial years. If you would have heard me थोड़ा सा seriously, I said मार्च में आप $2.5 लाख भेजो, अप्रैल में आप $2.5 लाख भेजो, 31st March you send 2.5 lakh, 1st April you send 2.5 lakh, you are sending 5 lakh USD. You did not even go to RBI for approval, and yet you are getting your $5 lakh and 2 financial years are changing. Such kind of structuring can be done to avoid your going to the approval. Otherwise, 250 is only allowed. You are allowed to go to RBI, but whether RBI will give you your permission or not is a question. You will have to give your facts, and it has to be really justifying why you want to do it through your individual route. Either instead, another option you have is to open up a company in India and invest your money in that company. You can invest up to 1,50,000 USD in that company, and then via that company you are allowed to invest 400%. So RBI say, why you are coming to me, open up a company, I have given you an other alternate, go and do that. My suggestion would be, Kaushal, you better choose between this two options. It will be easier than going to RBI and asking for an approval, unless there is something specific that you need to discuss or we need to know before we can answer to that question in detail. I hope that answers your question. Does this repatriation limit applies to all countries, or is it to the US specific? No, sir, it is to all countries. It is to an individual that it applies. I, as an individual, in fact, there is a question which has not come up here and I'd like to raise it up. I, as an individual, have the ability or the limit of investing 250,000 USD. My husband also has. If I have a son who is a major, he also has. So 3 of us put together have the ability to invest 750,000 US dollars out of India into any countries, which is allowed. So it's not only US specific, it is everybody. If we invest through foreign investment schemes of Indian mutual fund industry like MO, NASDAQ, what are the statutory requirements? Yes, here you can go ahead and make your investment in the Indian funds which have exposures abroad, which are usually saying we have investment into emerging markets or fund of funds. In those scenarios and in those exchanges also you can invest. So I would like to end with a note saying that with staying in India, with the LRS coming into picture, the world is to our ambit available. Let us go ahead, invest meticulously, calculatively, and diversify our portfolio into various instrument structures. Not only investment, but businesses also. The world has crossed, as it is said, that there are no boundaries that have remained. You can also do global businesses and you can have your companies abroad and invest at multiple countries. And let's take an advantage of that. And I wish you all the very best, everybody who wish to invest into foreign listed securities. And thank you so much. Hope it was insightful. If you have found it good, do let me know your feedback so that accordingly we can take up any more questions or any more suggestions on the front. Thank you so much, everybody.